Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that always remembers to check the timing coils. Hello, Britt.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm fine, but I never remember to check the timing coils.
The best part when you're fixing a car, if it's not the carburetor, it's the timing coils.
Really, it's not the air pack?
What was the air pack? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I was like, Dominic is a car driver more frequently than I am. You've had more cars than I am. You're also a man, not to be gender specific, but
it is the right episode for it.
Exactly, it is. But I was like, if someone on this podcast is going to do the research into the difference between a carburetor and an air pack and what actually the components are of a Porsche engine that, at this point, if Joe can take apart and put together an engine of a Porsche, 911, she shouldn't even be in school anymore. She should be at she should just go straight to, MIT. Just start doing engineering. Just don't bother with the bullshit of Eastland.
Hey, her rattle was a training wrench or something like that.
Yeah.
She's a teething wrench. I don't know.
Teething wrench. Yeah.
Yes, so today's episode is called A Woman's Place, and of course it was directed by Azad Khalada, because we start in the cafeteria, but it was written by a Facts of Life first-timer, and with a story by said first-timer and a different first-timer who's very notable in my life.
Okay.
So David Chambers. What was that?
I said bring me through this. So this is episode 7, right?
Yes, this is episode 7. And I just want to start by actually apologizing. I'm a little harried. I had a crazy experience at the supermarket.
Yeah.
I just finished my notes, and I had just enough time to run to the supermarket, grab some Diet Coke, and get back here. So I was like, I have to have Diet Coke when this podcast is over, and I want it to be cold. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So I run to the supermarket, and they're out of Diet Coke entirely.
What?
Yes, they were just out of Diet Coke, all sizes.
So I will say this, that is true when in our supermarket, when we look for Diet Coke, it's never, they only have the ones that are like the baby cans, so we sometimes get those, which are actually pretty good because I am a baby, I can't drink a whole can in one sitting. So it's true. I do feel like there is a run on Diet Coke, and also the holidays are coming up. I know that we're recording this, but so it's going to be later. But I feel like everyone is just it's like a run on Diet Coke for Thanksgiving.
I think this episode will air shortly before Christmas, so that might still be happening.
Yes.
But so that wasn't really my issue. My issue was as I was leaving, because I was like, well, I need something to drink, so I got this delicious coffee. And some apple cider, because I had some of it yesterday, and I was like, I need more apple cider in my life. Anyway, so I'm leaving the store, and there's a man who's having a fight with one of the security guards. And the security guard grabs the box of cereal from the guy's shopping bag and beats him with the box of cereal.
Wow.
He beat the man with his own box of Great Grains. There were Great Grains everywhere.
I was going to ask, was it a box of Kicks?
Great Grains, man. So I was ready to leave, and my cashier would not ring me up because he was watching the fight happen with his jaw agape. And I was like, I got to get back. I got to record a podcast about the facts of life.
And I'm sure this person was like, yeah. Everyone in my line needs to go back to their houses in Hollywood and go record their podcast. Yeah. I know.
And literally, there's a crowd of people watching this fight.
Melee.
And cereal everywhere. And I just walk out in the middle of the whole thing, and I just make a beeline right through the whole chaos, just to get to you, my lovelies, and
Thank you,
my Brit. Anyway, all right. So David Chambers wrote today's episode, and the story was by David Chambers and Ruth Bennett. So Chambers came to Facts of Life after writing 7 bosom buddies. There were only 2 seasons of bosom buddies, which means he was on there a lot, and they liked him a lot. And that was his first gig.
So there were 2 seasons of bosom buddies?
And he wrote 7 of them.
Yeah, and so there were at that point were there 16 episodes per season?
Oh no, it was about I think it was 48 total, 24 each season.
Yeah, but even still, that's a huge amount.
Yeah, I mean, getting 2 episodes a season is an accomplishment for most people. So I thought that was impressive. And also, there are no bad Bosom Buddies episodes. So I already know that this guy can write. And I do think this is a better episode than most in many regards.
Okay.
There are aspects of the girls that feel more human in places, not all of the places, but I did not hate this episode, especially after the amount of heavy lessons that we've been having this year. This one was a little bit like I felt like they were on the right side of things for once.
I wrote down, this was a mess.
All right, well, let me go through the bios of the people because I am curious. I can understand why you might think it's a mess because it's not good. But
Dominic, here's the thing is that and you say this like every time. It's like, so we went through the Holocaust of the Going to France movie. So
that's the worst.
Everything from here is up. So okay, so if we start in hell, then anything from there is better. Again,
we didn't get to hell until the end of the 3rd season.
No, the first 3 seasons were like a wide variety of different types of hell.
Well, that's subjective.
Okay. Well, anyway, and this one is just like, it's like, I can see what they were trying to do, but the incompetence, again, was so blaring and so annoying that, like, sure, this guy might be able to write, but it actually honestly felt as though someone came into the writer's room being like, oh, sweet, we got the new copy of the DSM. Let's talk about psychiatry this week. And then
I think that was honestly, they were like trying to do B plots again. And they were like, what if we tie it in a little bit?
Yeah.
I know you hate Natalie so much.
I hate her. This was the worst. This was so annoying.
Such an innocuous Natalie episode, too.
Oh my God. No, it was like the worst Natalie episode.
All right. So after this, he will do an episode of The Fall Guy. He does We Got It Made. He did 2 episodes each of Dreams and Fantasy Island. He'll do a Double Trouble, The Love Boat, Frank's Place, The Wonder Years, my beloved Rosie O'Donnell, Melissa Gilbert sitcom Stand By Your Man, where their husbands are in jail. He wrote several episodes of Getting By, which is one of the dumbest sitcoms of all time. I apologize. Getting By, I actually had worked with Warren Littlefield, who was the president of NBC at the time that this show got picked up. And I made fun of him about it every day for like a month.
That's right. You told me this.
He genuinely got to the point where my actual boss was like, Dominic,
maybe quit ragging
stop
on
the Getting By jokes. You got to get past the Getting By. So Getting By is about a black family and a white family who somehow buy the same house on the same day. So they decide to live together.
Normal.
They're getting by. Like a full family with bunch of kids. It's Cindy Williams of Laverne and Shirley and Thelma Hopkins of Bosom Buddies and other things like Family Matters. It's so oof. And there's very little footage of it that exists these days. He also did Hanging with Mr. Cooper, a Becker, 3 episodes of The Good News, and a Simpsons in 2004. And then he basically stopped. Simpsons was his last gig, save 4 episodes of Spaceballs, the animated series. But then, in 2020, he came back.
Oh, with
2 episodes of Barbie's Dreamhouse Adventures.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yes. He started at Bosom Buddies, one of the best shows of all time.
But
and
here's
from
the
Bosom
thing,
Buddies, he went to Facts of Life, something that I love very much. And now he's doing Barbie's Dreamhouse Adventures.
Which is really cool because, this was such a feminist episode.
It was. But that you can probably thank are the co-story writer of this episode, Ruth Bennett.
No, this was not feminist.
Didn't you see the license plate on the Porsche? It was 855 Femme.
That's not what you think it means.
Not FEMME. But anyway, so welcome back to the fold, David Chambers. Now, Ruth Bennett started in 1979 with an episode of Taxi, which in my notes I spelled with a Y.
Taxi.
And then 2 Laverne and Shirley's. There's that connection again. She did this episode of Facts of Life. Then she created Sarah, which is the Gina Davis, Alfre Woodard, Bill Maher, Bronson Pinchot, Matthew Lawrence sitcom from '86, which lasted 13 episodes, and I have all of them on DVD.
Wow.
Bootleg, of course. And she ended up writing 26 episodes of Family Ties.
Oh, wow, that's good.
And she went on to create Duet and its spin-off Open House, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. Duet introduced the world to Alison LaPlaca, and it was an early Fox romantic comedy that was serialized. And after 3 years, they had basically done enough of making the husbands such shitheads over 3 years because it was serialized, and the 2 women, the wives, were kind of the focal point. So after like years of shitting on these guys, they cheat, they decide to spin off the sitcom where the 2 women leave their husbands and both become real estate agents. And Ellen DeGeneres is the secretary there. And that show was called Open House. So there's almost no correlation at all between the very sophisticated romantic soap opera that aired for 3 years and then immediately went into a wacky hijinks-fueled sitcom about the high-stakes world of real estate agency.
So what you're saying is basically it is a very similar situation to the soap opera rom-com drama of Different Strokes that then had a wacky spin-off, which is now Facts of Life.
Is very similar to that.
Very similar. Okay, great. So now I understand the terrain that we're working in.
Yes, Ruth Bennett went on to do Something Wilder, which was a Gene Wilder sitcom. Wasn't as good as you'd want it to be.
He must have been 1,000 years old.
Well, this was like in the 90s. Then she did 5 Home Improvements, a cartoon called The Lionhearts, and 4 Sabrina Teenage Witches, and then she was done. So those are our writers for today.
Okay.
Now we can talk about what a mess this episode was.
Yes.
So where do we open, Britt?
The cafeteria.
I know. Luckily, the girls aren't doing manual labor immediately. They almost immediately, but first seconds are not that.
They're doing So Natalie
is doing
her homework
in the books, and Mrs. Garrett walks in.
Yeah, and Mrs. Garrett is sorting through mail or something, right?
Yes. She's really impressed with how long Natalie's been
reading a book.
Apparently, it's about the human brain.
I know.
And I know you know. We just watched it. And Natalie delights in explaining how complicated the human brain is and how easily it can get sick. She cackles with demented glee. So she gets a laugh out of that. She's like, the brain is incredibly complicated. And, the great thing about she says, Mrs. Garrett, do you know anything at all about the human mind? And then Mrs. Garrett goes, I've heard of it. And then I wrote down in my notes, oh God, this is going to be Natalie being condescending and obnoxious the entire episode. And lo and behold, she is. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I got a total eclipse of the cat. My cat walked right in front of my lamp. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so sorry, I had to check on my cats because they were having a fight. And so then, Mrs. Garrett's like, yeah, I know about the human mind. And Natalie's like, yeah, well, it can get really fucked up. It does amazing things, but it can get really sick.
And Mrs. Garrett's like, okay.
Yeah, okay. That's nice, Natalie.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she's like, psychology explains everything. Okay,
I feel like Mrs. Garrett's face fell when she was like, this is your plot?
Well, right. No, and so I was like, oh no. So basically what has happened is that they gave the worst character a psychology textbook. She's taking psychology.
Think she's the worst character.
Needly and know-it-all of all of them. And so, of course, she goes around and is constantly diagnosing everyone and everything all the time. And she's doing it unbelievably incorrectly. She's also not only, and I'll get into this later, but she's confusing psychology with psychiatry constantly. It's just this weird mishmash of buzzwords that, like, it was as though she, like, heard them and just was regurgitating them. And she's doing it in the most obnoxious way possible.
You know, I found some of her interjections to be funny. I definitely agree with you. She mishmashed them, but also I mishmashed them.
Well, you shouldn't, and that's why you're not a therapist.
And maybe I do because I watched this episode.
Yeah, that's
because I definitely remember this one vividly from being a child. Because I thought that Doug was pretty cute.
Yeah, and so did this also inform your ideas of what feminism is?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay. So basically, not telling off the dude that you like at work who's being a dick to you, and then accepting the shitty old role that you have, that's feminist.
Well, no, I mean, I thought this was a cautionary tale. Don't do what Joe did.
Which is be good at her job and not
do what Joe did there. Don't listen to what Blair told Joe to do and then do it.
Oh, so the cautionary tale is never listen to Blair.
I think the cautionary tale is be yourself. And if somebody doesn't like you for who you are, then they are never going to like you. And so don't try to be someone else.
You're really, you're pushing this episode through a very finely meshed sieve to find that message.
Oh, no, they say that verbatim. Mrs. Garrett literally says that to her. Anyway, so Tootie comes in. She's doing manual labor.
Yeah. Well, no, she's gluing something. She's like decoupaging something. Anyway.
I thought she had like salt and pepper shakers.
No, she had glue. Anyway, so she comes in. Natalie's explaining to Mrs. Garrett that psychology explains everything. And then Tootie comes in being all like, what's all that? Like,
yeah, okay. Why? Can we just talk about that for 1 second? Like, they're at school. Nat's in front of a mess of books. That should not be a shock to anyone.
No, of course not.
So if you see somebody with books, you don't go, what's that? And then beyond that, you're also her roommate, Tootie. So you definitely know what she's been studying. And if she is this verbose and obnoxious about what she's studying, oh, you definitely know.
No.
This whole, like, I just discovered the brain 4 hours ago and haven't seen Tootie. I don't buy it for 1 second.
It's just to set up this very bad joke.
Very bad joke.
Yeah. She goes, what's all that? And then Natalie says, Gestalt. And then Tootie
says Gesundheit.
Gesundheit. So she says, God bless you.
Oh, okay.
Because the joke is that she thought that she heard Gesundheit. And so she was just repeating another.
She thought just Gestalt sounded like a sneeze to her.
Which it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Gestalt
this was
sounds
terrible.
like Gesundheit.
This was a terrible joke.
Gestalt sounds like Gesundheit. A sneeze on TV sounds like achoo.
You don't have to tell me. The Gestalt is the psychology in the school of thought that believes that all objects and scenes can be observed in their simplest forms, also known as the law of simplicity. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the kids were loving all this. Nat explains the theory, and Mrs. Garrett compares it to her chicken cacciatore, which is also more than the sum of its parts.
Well, hold on. I just want to back up and discuss a little bit about Gestaltism, which I'm sure you were like, oh, sweet. I'm so looking forward to this. So the Gestalt idea was basically, the theory of it is that it is, it goes basically, it's anti the sense of British empiricism, which is that if you break every single thing down to its basis, its tiniest components, right, you will basically understand the entire world. And the Gestalt theory is that even if you understand these various components, you are missing a sort of a larger overhanging part of like the form of something or the pattern, as you said. So to basically say to not quite go into Mrs. Garrett's analogy yet, but if you listen to a piece of music, right, and you hear the various notes and the lyrics, right, if you you hear them, but the gestalt of them is a overwhelming of the form of it, and you can change that to a different you're the musician, if you pitch it down, it will remain the same, component parts, but it'll be changed in some way. So that you have to understand that like music as a thing is not just notes and the sound and the lyrics. It's the whole thing. It's more than the sum of its parts.
Like chicken cacciatore.
Like the chicken cacciatore.
Or really any dish.
Literally anything. This podcast is more than just you and me talking about this stupid thing over the internet. Watching this great show
That's
was
basically what it is.
No, but the thing is that we have, we have our lovelies, so that there's more than the sum of its parts, basically. And which I think is a more elegant way of understanding the universe. It adds more to it rather than just detracts. Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett's like, it's like my chicken cacciatore. It's more than just thighs and wings. And then Natalie looks at her and goes, like, completely condescending, good example, Mrs. Garrett.
She genuinely meant that. She loved it. It was a food example.
And Mrs. Garrett goes, yeah, I'll send you the recipe. I feel like they did have a breast joke in here. More than my thighs and breasts. But then the network was like, we can't have Mrs. Garrett say breasts on camera.
See, and I figured that there was like going to be a subplot where next week the Eastland Gazette falsely reports that chicken cacciatore had an abortion.
Yeah.
Now it was like, can I use that? Now she knows to ask.
Yes. So, but the other thing is, so do you know what chicken cacciatore is?
Oh, yeah. It's prepared hunter style with onions, herbs, tomatoes, bell peppers, wine, chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cacciatore means hunter in Italian, and it was created in the 14th.
Correctamundo.
The 14th or the 15th century. But it did not have tomatoes then because tomatoes had not gotten to the old world by then. So it had no tomatoes. Anyway, I looked it up, and chicken cacciatore day, National Day, is October 15th, which just happens.
Shit, we just missed it.
Which just happens to be my husband's birthday, and he's Italian American. So like, I did all this research into this, and I went up there and up into his home office, and I said, "Hey, do you know what chicken cacciatore is?" And he's like, "What the fuck? Of course I do." And I was like, "Okay, so what is it?" And he's like, "Okay, so it's a stuffed chicken. No, that's not right. It's a chicken stew." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, you got it." But it was like this. It's so funny that like October 15th, which is a significant day in this household, is chicken cacciatore day. Also, do you know what happens on October 15th?
No.
Conflict Resolution Day, Get Smart About Credit Day, Global Hand Washing Day, and White Cane Safety Day.
What was the last one?
White Cane Safety Day. So this was first proclaimed in 1964 by LBJ, which was so that it was to recognize the contributions of the visually impaired and the blind, because the National Federation of the Blind gives white canes free of charge to those in need. So
this seems to be a day to recognize those canes, not the people who need them.
Right.
Like, I imagine if we Google it, there's probably like a National Blind People Awareness Day as well.
Sure.
That's not National White Cane Day.
But October 15th is the National White Cane Day that LBJ, when he was president, made a national holiday, or recognized nationally.
I can't believe that these stupid national holidays, a day for every sandwich and light bulb that you could think of, that's been going on since the LBJ administration. I mean,
probably
to be fair, the White Canes, that's more respectable than, say, Chicken Cacciatore Day.
Well, right. But I will say this about White Cane Days is that I feel like in like 1964, when this was recognized, I'm sure that most people were not very sensitive to the, differently abled. And they were like, yeah, he's just a white caner. Let's recognize those white cane kids. I feel like that was there. It was not that sensitive back then.
Or maybe they were thinking it was like for people in the black tuxedos with the white top hats and the white canes doing the tap dancing downstairs in the 30s.
Different type of cane.
Yeah, but maybe that's what they thought it was.
No, I looked it up.
Kids. Bring them back. Anyway, all right. We've gone way off.
Anyway, so the greatest thing about this is that so they're having this back and forth about this fucking chicken cacciatore, and Tootie just is like looking at them like, this is fucking stupid. Like, stop. What are you doing? Like, what is all this? And then Joe comes in with Mystery Man.
A man. His name is Doug, and everybody says hi to him when he arrives, like he's a thing. Everybody's like, hi, Doug. Everybody got a hi, Doug.
Have we ever seen Doug before?
No, Doug's not a thing. We'll never see him again. But they decided to pretend. A lot has happened in Joe's life since Natalie went looking for her birth mother. Like, she's had a job for 5 weeks. She's got a boyfriend now. And the boyfriend she had before the job, because he's the one who got her the job. So, how long has it been between episodes?
Exactly. The other thing, I don't understand the timeline of this television show.
Me neither. But let's talk about Doug.
Yeah, so he comes in.
Well, no, let me talk about him as an actor.
Yes, of course, but with his feathered hair and his motorcycle jacket.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was pretty dreamy.
Very dreamy.
So Doug is played by Dean Simone, whose IMDb tells me that he's currently playing Jim Beam in the Jim Beam campaign.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. And also, since it's his IMDb bio, I don't know necessarily that it is current, but he hasn't updated it to say anything other than it's current. It also says that he's a father, a husband, a son. That one I figured. An animal rights activist, a vegetarian, and a proud Catholic.
Okay.
This is his first gig. And he won't do another one until 1986 when he shows up on an episode of Airwolf. And then he takes a decade-long break before he shows up on one NYPD Blue.
Well, maybe that was because he was focusing on, becoming a father and a husband.
A better mechanic, maybe?
Maybe.
He was trying to get to auditions, but he kept checking out the carburetor when really it was the timing coils.
Yeah.
So he couldn't go anywhere. He did a couple of movies, Exit in Red, Carnival of Wolves. Never heard of either of them. He did a few short films, and then he starts doing reenactments for shows like My Crazy Ex and The Unusual Suspects.
Oh.
Yes.
That's good. Those are juicy.
Last year, though, he got back into feature films. He played Morris Burns in Line of Descent, which also stars a very fat Brendan Fraser. So if you're wondering what Brendan Fraser is doing in 2019, it's working with Dean Simone in Line of Descent.
Okay,
anyway,
well, let's not shit on Brendan Fraser because his entire career was railroaded off the tracks because he refused sexual advances. He was by a very famous producer.
Well, I will say this. I fucking love Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I like so many of his movies. I love Blast from the Past too much. I love Bedazzled, Monkey Bone. And I will definitely say that I have watched him be Tarzan for all the wrong reasons. So I'm a fan of him, big or small. Bring me some Brendan Fraser. So I don't mean to disrespect him at all, but we all know that his career didn't turn out quite the way that he was hoping, and so Doug Simone is now working with him. Anyway, So we learned that Doug works with Joe at the motorcycle shop. We also learned that Joe works at a motorcycle shop for the first time, and has so for 5 weeks, apparently. But today was a red letter day, Britt.
I know.
Do you know that phrase goes back to 1490?
So I was hoping that you would do this research. Please tell
me. So it does. It goes back to 1490 when important dates were marked on calendars that were printed out in red letters. So if it was like Christmas Day or, Chicken Cacciatore Day, it would be written on October the calendar 15th. In red. And those were red letter days. I always wondered that, and I was so happy to look it up. Pet Shop Boys have a great song called Red Letter Day. It was a single. I was 16 when it came out, and I snuck into Manhattan on the train and spent $18 for train tickets so I could buy a CD single set that cost me $24 with just 2 B-sides that I needed. That was me at 16, and I'm exactly the same now.
You're such a devoted fan.
I am. Anyway, so the red letter day has something to do with last week. Joe fixed up a real dump of a motorcycle. The kickstand didn't even work. It's a really long story, and Doug interjects with some technical jargon that I didn't research because it just didn't seem accurate. And
no, let's keep moving. It's basically like what happens is that Doug comes in, and then it's like exposition. They're coming in, they're so celebratory, they're so psyched because Joe was amazing. She souped up, she fixed this motorcycle that was on its last legs. And
to the point where her boss went, it works.
Yeah.
Which she was very excited about.
Yeah, because that's a big compliment. And so Natalie says, "Is your boss always so enthusiastic?" And then Doug says, one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life is, you don't understand. He said he said the same thing when his wife had a baby. So either her cooter works, her uterus works, or his spunk works.
So now I thought about this, and I decided it has to be the uterus, vagina, the canal, something there, not on him, because he got her pregnant and she was getting bigger and bigger. So as far as I'm concerned, he would believe that part worked.
Okay, that's true. I get that, yes. So our minds went to the right place. That was the signal. Basically that, she can, push out a baby, so that part of her works.
Yes, exactly. I was startled that was a thing that was said on this show. We also learned that Joe's asshole boss rejected her 6 times before giving her the job.
Yeah.
Mrs. Garrett pats her on the back for having softened the prick. Apparently it was Doug who convinced Garo, that's their boss, love that they named him Garo, to hire her even though she's a girl.
Yeah.
But it looks like Joe and Doug are a thing.
No, and Doug explains, saying, that it's, Garo. I kept being like, is it Gallo? Is it Garo? Is it Giro? Whatever. Anyway, that, Garo thinks that, according to Doug, he thinks it's fine for women to leave the house as long as they come back with groceries.
Yes. So he says he's so old-fashioned that he believes that. So are there old-fashioned men that didn't let their wives leave the house?
I guess.
I feel like we would have heard about these men. Like, if that was a fashion, like, I get that there's probably, like, psychos everywhere here and there. But, like, if this was like like, back in the day, we didn't let our women leave the house. That was a thing.
I think this was
news to me.
No, I think especially if you could afford a servant, because you wouldn't want your wife going to the store. Because what would she do? She would, dirty her hands with money. She doesn't know how math works, she would get
come back with a bunch of bonbons.
Exactly. She would get confused by everything.
Anyway, Mrs. Garrett changes the subject, thankfully.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. I got a pie in the kitchen. Yeah. Go eat it.
Yeah. She's like, there's some celebratory apple pie in the kitchen, and Doug is very excited about the pie. He stops to tell Mrs. Garrett with clenched fists that her pie is a work of art.
This was the weirdest episode. Like, what was happening?
It's so I guess in the 5 weeks that Doug and Joe have been dating, presumably.
Working together, not dating yet.
Mrs. Garrett's been feeding him pie.
I guess.
I mean, it's not like the strudel that pours out of her every day. Speaking of
Listen.
which, Britt made me another strudel, persimmon this time. Tastes like Christmas apples.
Yeah.
Quite delicious. This lady is keeping me well stocked in baked goods, but we're not talking about her. We're talking about Mrs. Garrett's baked goods right now.
Yeah, so Mrs. Garrett's just like, he's such a bright boy,
Yeah, because he likes her pie. She giggles and wobbles and wiggles.
Yeah, and she's like, good taste in pie and girls, and winks hardcore at Natalie.
Making
and
me
Natalie's
think
like,
that Mrs. Garrett's fucking him.
Yeah, it was like everything about this was like, what's going on here?
Blair comes in.
So as soon as they go off to eat this pie, right? In comes Blair screaming about Daddy's Porsche.
Yeah, it's weird. Everybody has very big dramatic entrances in this scene. Like when Joe comes in, it's with the great news. I can't believe it. And then Blair comes in and she's like, oh my God, everybody don't freak out. Like, why don't you tell us what we should not freak out about first before you freak out?
Yeah.
But yeah, she tells everybody to remain calm, get a grip on themselves, and she whimpers. That's one of her signature whimpers and sits. Apparently, Daddy's Porsche broke down, and he believes in capital punishment. So she's going to get sentenced to the death penalty because the car broke down. Doesn't seem like it was her fault, but we learned later on that it was.
Well, no, she not even later on. She was like, Mrs. Garrett's like, wait. Dad, it's Daddy's Porsche. And she goes, Mrs. Garrett's like, was there an accident? Are you hurt? And she's like, no, it's worse. It broke down.
How is that worse?
The car is Daddy's pride and joy. And then it's just this like, he's into capital punishment. He'll cut off my credit, Yes,
and then Tootie stands up to say something. But then Blair goes on to say how he'd cut off her credit. And then Tootie's just like, but wait, capital punishment means you're dead. And then Blair's like, that's what I said. And then Tootie, whatever Tootie was going to say, she's like, fuck it, I give up.
Yeah.
And just walks away.
Like Tootie in this episode is basically like, fuck it. Like, I can't communicate with any of these morons at this point. Like, everyone is off their rockers in this episode. She's like, I literally cannot use the words that are coming out of my mouth are not going into your ears and making sense. So I'm giving up.
Yes, Natalie thinks that Blair's being paranoid. Mrs. Garrett just tells her to tell the truth, but she's like, I'm paranoid, not suicidal.
I literally wrote down, I was like, just get the car fixed. You live with a mechanic.
I know.
What,
Joe and Doug walk in, and it's like, what's the problem? It's really convenient that there are two mechanics that just walked into the room.
No, and the best thing is that she's like, I can't. She's like, I'm not suicidal. I can't tell him the truth. And then she's like, and then Blair's just like, oh, I know. I'll buy him a new one. And Mrs. Garrett's like, you can't do that. Basically being like, you don't have that much credit, bitch. And then she's like, Blair's like, yeah. You're right. It's like with his dog. He'll know the difference. So at this point, are we led to believe that Blair is not only destroying luxury vehicles that are beloved to her dad by grinding the gears from third to reverse? Why would her father lend her a manual if she doesn't know how to drive it, first of all? And then also, apparently now Blair is a puppy killer. And then was psychotic enough to be like, shit, I can't fess up to that. I'll just buy him a new one and see if he doesn't notice.
Yes. If you look at Mrs. Garrett's face when she admits to killing her father's dog and callously replacing it, Mrs. Garrett's face is like, whoa. Like, what the fuck?
I wrote down, I thought Tootie was the sociopath. When did Blair become this?
I think that they're trying to rehabilitate Tootie after 3 years of bad behavior by having her not say or do anything except for have earwax.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Joe sighs and sees where the plot is going. She asks Blair what she did to the car. Blair feigns shocked. Me, I would never.
Nothing.
And then without prompting anything, she's just like, well, I did shift it from third to reverse. So she did do something. But then I Googled it, and it doesn't seem like that would make a car flat out break down.
I don't know how to drive a manual. So, I mean, my grandfather tried to teach me once when I was a teenager in Montana on a huge truck. And I was such a weak teenager and it was such a big, giant truck that I had to pull with both arms on the gear stick while also using my knees to drive the truck, to use the steering wheel, while also releasing the clutch and pushing down the gas. Maybe that wasn't the easiest thing to learn how to drive.
But from there, it's just smooth sailing. Nothing's going to be as hard as that.
True.
Classic grandparent way of teaching. So apparently the auto shop in town can't even pronounce Porsche. And neither can Blair because it's Porsche.
No.
But I know how you feel. Anyway, so Joe offers her for her to bring it into the shop despite Blair's protestations. Joe's fiddled with Porsches before.
And I was like,
girls named Porsche.
And I was like, I bet you have, Joe.
Yeah.
I bet you have. Your British girlfriend, Portia.
Blair yells at her that she doesn't need it fiddled with. She needs it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Said that before. And Doug finally speaks up and says he knows she can do it. And then Blair, because a man said it, is like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a long time for the inevitable to happen. But once Doug speaks, she's like, okay. But then she's very ungrateful and says to Joe, I guess I don't have a choice. I guess I'm stuck with you. And Tootie chimes in for no fucking reason when she's like, well, when you put it like that, how can she refuse? How does this have anything to do with you, Tootie?
No, and so the other thing about this episode is that, like, I actually at one point wondered, because as we'll see as we go to the next scene, they built a whole new set. I thought this was going to be another weird, like, spin-off backdoor pilot type situation, right? Because we spent so much
Garo's show?
Yeah, because we spent so much Garo's garage, but we spend so much time in this garage with these two people who are, you know, will they, won't they, trying to, like, figure out whether or not, like, you know, Doug wants to be pegged by Joe, you know. And I thought maybe there's something here, like, you know, but no, it isn't. But we spend so much time, which is why this is so incompetent.
Well, let's get there. Let's finish this scene before we get to there. So Doug needs to leave so he can be back at 7:30 so he can take Joe out for a noisy pizza and a quiet movie or whatever. And Tootie's nether regions just salivate.
No, yeah. So Doug's coming to pick her up at 7:30, and Blair's excited because she's like, oh, she assumes that it has to do with her. She's like, oh, sweet, you're going to come back here, pick her up, and then go work on my thing. That's great. Awesome. I'm a raging narcissist. Perfect. And then she's like, no, we're going out for a noisy movie and a quiet pizza. And Doug says, or a quiet movie and a noisy pizza.
What the fuck does that mean?
Which is what I call my genitals, a noisy pizza. Like, it's like it's one of these things where it's sort of like they were doing these weird sexual innuendos, at least with, like, you know, old school first season, at least with avocado spread, we got what we were talking about. Whereas it's like a noisy pizza.
Made no sense.
What? And like the chicken cacciatore.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm in my kitchen. That's why. But the chicken cacciatore thing, it's like with the wings and the like, what is this? Like, if you're gonna make a dirty joke, make a dirty joke.
You've seen Girl Interrupted, right?
Yes.
Okay, you know, but the eat-in chicken. It's like, I want an apartment with an eat-in chicken. That's what's happening to you. Anyway, so okay, he leaves. Doug leaves after a very awkward series of waves between him and Joe.
So I literally wrote down the exact same thing. I wrote down, like, so Tootie's like comes over and she's like, either way, that sounds amazing. A noisy pizza or a quiet movie. Oh, that sounds awesome. And then, like, Doug's like, okay, bye. And they're sort of like tapping one another on the sides, and then, like, they wave. But I wrote down, then Joe and Doug awkwardly wave goodbye to one another like they're the Von Trapp family singers. It's like, So long, farewell, Avita, say goodbye.
There was so many goodbyes.
It was so long, and it like took him like 10 seconds to get off stage.
It did. And then he leaves, and Blair's very angry and goes, "How can you be playing Modern Romance when Daddy's car is fighting for its life?" Is that an expression, playing Modern Romance?
I mean, there's the album Modern Romance.
There's a band, Modern Romance.
Band, sorry.
But
I don't know.
It just felt really weird and awkwardly phrased. But Jo denies her romance with Doug, even though Tootie calls her out when she claims it's just a business relationship.
Yes.
Strictly business. What kind of business is it? It's her business. Leave her alone.
No, the best is like, so she's like, no, we have a business relationship. And then Tootie, is like, noisy movies and quiet business. What kind of business is that?
Her business.
And Jo says, mine. And then mic drops and just leaves.
Yeah. She ends the episode with a mic drop, too. I think this is a fair episode for Jo. I think this is a place where she's figuring out who she's about to become. She'll become more confident in this woman soon. But I think this is a lesson that, lots of 16-year-old girls have to go through. And boys.
To not put up with bullshit from someone who is uncomfortable with the fact that you're better at whatever it is than you are.
Exactly. Don't lose yourself. Be confident in who you are and what you're capable of. And if somebody is jealous of you, fuck them.
Okay.
Anyway, I think it's a fine lesson. I'm sure you found some other lesson.
But okay.
What is the lesson? What is your lesson from this episode?
The lesson is, well, so for me at least, it was what a cool feminist lesson to learn that we needed to have this dude come in here to create the problem, right?
Well, if you want to show sexism, then you kind of do need a dude to come in to do that.
But so what should have happened is that Jo this could have just been so much more tightly written.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying what's the lesson that you took away?
So that she didn't need to do the mic drop, leave like at the end where she's basically like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. We're coworkers. I'm going to go hang out and have lunch with my real friends. She should have been like, the lesson should have been, hey man, I'm your boss. Like,
but I think that here, what happened was she had consequences for the fact that she did this, and that was losing her job, losing her promotion.
Yeah, but she should have it should have been Gallo should have said, hey, if you're having a problem with Doug because he's not following the rules or whatever, you need to just tell him, put him in his place. You're the manager now. And then she should have been like, great, I'm the manager, and had that confidence boost, and then not had the fear of, well, now I need to knock you back a peg and you're back down to being a regular coworker. That's not feminist.
Well, I mean, I think they were trying to say that next time, if you were her, that's what you would do.
Oh, so
you've learned the lesson. Like, things have to go wrong so you can learn the facts of life.
Yeah, but again, I do think that, maybe the thing that goes wrong in the episode could happen, and then the fact gets learned, and then we see a denouement in a finale that actually makes it so that the person clearly learned the fact, and then happiness ensues.
But rather than is the modicum of continuity.
And then everyone leaves this terrible episode with basically being like, well, shit, I shouldn't have spoken up. And also I took the wrong advice from the dumb blonde bitch at school, and I lost my promotion.
Well, I don't think that's the lesson. The lesson is next time, if you do that, you won't lose your promotion. But honestly, I will say that the denouement that we get is an additional 5 seasons of the show where Jo enacts these lessons that she learned.
Good.
Because this is really this is not the Jo that you will see in future episodes, even this season, I don't think. I think she's just about done with these weird mistakes. Like, I know she's going to try to become a nun. But for the most part, she's got her head pretty much on her shoulders from here on out. I think once the nun thing happens, she has a moment with a teacher that she really loves. It makes her grow up. But we'll get there in series. But for right now, we're in a new scene. We're at a garage. And I bet they just used all the same props that they used from their attempted spin-off, The Garage.
Yes. But they did have an actual, at least what appeared to be the back of a Porsche.
That was pretty exciting.
That was very exciting.
Doug is impressed how Joe knew to check the airbox.
And she's like, I've been doing engines since I was a baby. I had my own teething wrench, which I thought that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I didn't like thinking about it.
I didn't like thinking about that. I also didn't think that babies should be working on engines.
Well, yeah, but that I thought was cute. But like a baby chewing on a wrench made my teeth hurt. Anyway, so then things get sexy.
Oh, I know.
He's talking about how he would have scored more points in Donkey Kong last night if he wasn't so busy trying to score with Joe. And she's moved by this. And so they kiss.
Yeah.
And then Garo arrives.
Yes.
Let's talk about Garo for a second. Do you recognize him?
No.
He's Pierrino Mascarino.
Wow, what a name.
You've heard that name before.
No.
He's in Facts of Life, Goes to Paris. He played Sergio. They gave him a new role.
Which one was Sergio?
I can't remember.
Was he one of the cooks?
Was he one of the cooks?
Sorry.
Probably.
At Mrs. Garrett's cooking school?
He might have been. I'm trying to think. I mean, he had a name, Sergio. He wasn't the guy.
He wasn't David. He wasn't David.
He was Sergio. Anyway.
Okay.
I think we went through his bio last time, but
yeah,
very
of
quickly,
course we did.
He started out in soaps, and then he did the show Soap, and then he did Taxi, Starsky and Hutch, Benson, Different Strokes, Jefferson's 227. He did the TV movie Warm Hearts, Cold Feet, which I've chosen to spotlight this time. And it's about a married couple who are reporters at rival newspapers. And here's where things get interesting. He writes a fake story about how they're pregnant and what they're going through. And she is very mad because they're not pregnant, writes a retaliatory story about how he lied about the pregnancy and they were trying to get pregnant but couldn't. And then she gets pregnant. And now their stories have swapped. Anyway, it stars Tim Matheson. And so there's one IMDb review, and I'm going to read it because I loved it.
What year did this movie come out?
1987.
Oh my God, this sounds like the most horrible thing possible.
It's a TV movie, and there's a commercial for it on YouTube. Just a commercial.
What's it called again?
It's called it's called Warm Hearts, Cold Feet.
Okay.
And the ad for it has both Tim Matheson and his wife, who I don't remember who plays her, both with pregnant bellies holding their bellies. Anyway, so, okay. And again, 87. However, I found this review of it from 2018. So 2 years ago.
Wow.
Only review. 10 stars. This is a wonderful movie. I had it recorded, but unfortunately, one of my kids' friends must have taken it as it's missing. I've tried to contact everyone I can think of to replace, but no one will contact me. Oh, well, I just have to pray that it will come on TV again one of these days. In 2018, this lady is praying that a 1987 Tim Matheson TV movie might get rerun. I don't think it's gonna.
At this point, now I want to find a copy of this on VHS and send it to her.
Yeah, I was thinking about checking Cinephile and seeing if they have it, because they have a whole section of just TV movies that they recorded off of the television, and then they burn to DVD, and they make their own hilarious artwork. So they've got all, like, I used to go back when you could go into stores. I would go to the TV movie section and just take out like 6 insane TV movies. It'd be like Cloris Leachman and Hervé Villachez, a romantic couple stranded on an island with a man-eating piranha that has feet. Like, they were always good.
And that's a holiday movie that you
Yes.
just.
So after that,
let me just give a little brief plug. Just that reminds me that speaking of going into places that you can rent movies from, the new Vidiot's is going to be opening near me in Los Angeles. So that's very exciting. Well, everything is under pause right now, but soon.
I know, but every time I drive past, I'm like, God, I wish they were open because I would totally.
I know. And they have a whole theater. They're gonna show like second run movies, midnight movies. It's gonna be amazing.
I mean, when is that gonna happen?
I don't know, but I will also say that I will suggest to them. I will put in their suggestion box to watch the to screen the Cloris Leachman Piranha with Legs on an Island holiday movie that you just described, because it sounds.
Hervé Villachez.
Yes, of course.
So anyway, after that, Pierrino Mascarino, best name ever, did Knots Landing, Columbo, Dynasty, Touched by an Angel, Seinfeld, Mad About You, Buffy, Jag. His last credit was 4 years ago, where he played a doctor on Baskets. So this guy did like a lot of good, high-profile
That's really
shit.
Recent.
Yeah, he died in 2017 though, a year after.
R.I.P.
Yes, but he was in his 80s. He lived a long and fruitful life. So Garo comes in and asks Joe Navarco.
Yeah, I know.
How the Porsche is coming along. And when she says good, he's like, are you trans?
No, he says, are you sure you're a girl?
No girl can be so good for business. She's even bringing him cars.
I know.
And there's a reason there's a blanket over that Porsche, because they just got the back of it.
Just the back. Just the back. Yeah, for sure.
So he waxes poetic about how glad he is that he took Doug's advice. Doug should be Joe's agent. This entire episode has been Doug advocating for Joe.
Except when he turns into a piece of shit and starts hating on her and being a
So
passive-aggressive asshole.
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh,
when that happens, I will say that.
Okay.
I'm not being a Doug defender. I'm just saying.
At this point, he's still okay.
Doug seems like a solid dude.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to saying that Joe's got a penis, and then Garo leaves. And for the 50th time, we're told that Doug got Joe this job. They say it so many times in this episode. Yeah. I guess they really wanted to like defend his character. Like, hey, look, sexist people can also do nice things. Just so you know.
But at least at this point, I also took that as a little bit like, she can do the job, but also clearly he wanted to get into her pants. So that's why he advocated so hard for her.
Oh, I didn't think that. I assumed that he was already in the pants.
No. Joe doesn't strike me as that type of gal.
Really? Tell that to David.
True.
Anyway, so Garo leaves, and
but here's the thing: the way that they said goodbye in the last scene, they were just sort of waving awkwardly and sort of touching one another awkwardly on the sides of their upper hip. So,
but that was just because they didn't want to show the rest of the girls that they do it.
Yeah, and then when they did kiss at the beginning, before Garo gets here, it's one of those like very small, tiny lip, dry kisses.
This one though, they kiss again right here, and the second kiss I thought was a little better.
Oh, the second kiss is very raunchy.
And this is when I realized that the last time we saw Joe kiss a boy was David in Paris.
It was David.
Do you think that maybe it's Pierrino Mascarino that's getting Joe all riled up, and so whenever he's around her, she's just like, I gotta find a boy of my age to hump immediately.
Yeah.
Anyway, they kiss for way too long, which allows Blair, Mrs. Garrett, Tootie, and Natalie to enter. And then Blair has a solid line: "Love amongst the ruins of my father's Porsche." No?
No. Why? Why did all of them need to be here?
That I can't tell you. I have no idea why they're all there. Mrs. Garrett, and they come back again, and even then, it makes even less sense why they're there. Like the second time, I genuinely cannot figure it out. But
so Blair comes in, like, and I get why Blair's there, right? You know, maybe Mrs. Garrett and she are kind of going on a walk to the, to downtown Peekskill, whatever. But she's like, Blair comes in, love among the ruins of my father's Porsche. They bounce away from one another. And then Mrs. Garrett goes, we stopped by to see how you were doing. Yeah. And then Natalie, in her babiest, grossest, perviest voice possible, says, and we're glad we did. Hi, Doug. And Doug goes, hi. And then, like, it's like, I can't be around these people.
Well, okay. So, to me, their behavior was that they were so excited that they finally caught Joe hooking up with him when they knew that they had a thing, but Joe was denying it. So I thought that was where their delight was coming from.
Yeah, so basically what that means is that, like, you know, Natalie and Toots are going to go home after seeing this and rub one out from the fact that they just caught their friend.
I mean, probably, but I think it was just the fact that they caught their friend in a lie that was delighting them, not getting to see some oral intercourse.
Yeah, no, yeah. Oral intercourse. Is that what they were doing?
Yeah. Anyway, so Blair sees what a car looks like taken apart for the first time in her life and has a shit fit about it.
Okay.
So it looks like the Tin Man exploded.
No, wait a minute. I want to go back for a minute. I want to just backtrack to Natoots.
Oh, yeah, no, Natalie pointing out this is a clear case of fixation.
So as she said, oh, glad we did. Hi, Dad. You know, and then Tootie's like, some business relationship. Ee-oo. And then Natalie goes, what we have here is a clear case of fixation. So, again, the B plot here is that Natalie is the world's most annoying psychology student. Like, she's taken Psych 101, has a brand new textbook, is just spouting shit out all the time.
Spouting it out.
So, and again, she's misusing it. This is wrong. Fixation was originated by Freud to denote the persistence of anachronistic sexual traits. So then it became a term to denote object relationships with attachments to people or things persisting from childhood to adult life. So in Freud's theory, there's during psychosexual development, you go through various stages. So you go from oral to anal to phallic, right? So from oral, basically you have an oral fixation because when, not even a fixation, but you're breastfed, or, you know, so that's your mouth. That's where you're getting all of your nutrients. That's the thing that is providing you love and comfort, right? And as you're weaned, if you're not properly weaned, you develop a fixation about that, because it's like, that's the thing that I want. And so if you have an oral fixation, that tends to mean that you have anxiety around your mouth. So you're a smoker, you're a gum chewer, you chew on your nails. If you have an anal fixation, right? So as you move through the psychosexual development, you most, as according to Freud, normal children develop the pleasurable sensation of being able to hold their bowels in and then releasing them, right? So they're going through the stages of development, right? And so, but if you were given a particularly difficult potty training situation, you are obsessed with cleanliness and order and rigidity. Or if you weren't given one at all, you're just you're messy. So this fixation that Natalie is talking about is completely incorrect. She's like, oh, so she's actually, Joe is into this guy? That's not a fixation. So thank you. So thank you for coming to my Freud 101 TED Talk.
I'm thrilled to have heard it. So now Blair sees what a car looks like taken apart. The Tin Man exploded. She's freaking out. She threatens to blackball Joe from the automotive repair industry. And Joe explains you have to tear it down to build it back better. And then Blair calls Joanna Marie Biden. Back better. But she actually calls her Karl Marx, a joke that the kids of 1982 obviously loved.
Yeah. This was definitely written for children. Yeah. Who are you? The Karl Marx of auto repair? Like anything else could have been better.
I didn't hate it. I feel like I thought this was a weirdly written episode, but the jokes were like so strange sometimes that I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that joke. And then science class really has turned Natalie into an obnoxious, batshit crazy person. She's now delighted at Joe's major mood disturbance, which isn't even a medical expression.
Yeah, I know.
And
then Mrs. Garrett says, Natalie, you shouldn't enjoy other people's troubles. And then Natalie says, that's what psychiatry is, Mrs. Garrett.
I'm not in disagreement there.
No, that is not what psychiatry is.
But I feel like the people who get into
psychiatry is the study and treatment of mental illness and abnormal behavior. Psychology is the science of mind and behavior and the study of feeling, thought, and perception. Natalie has been getting all this shit mixed up all fucking episode, and we're not done yet.
Well, she's only 14. She just started the class. Tootie didn't even know she was taking it.
She shouldn't be doing this.
She's just trying to learn.
She's not trying to learn. You know what she's trying to do? She's trying to diagnose her friends and self-diagnose herself, which is what everyone does as soon as they take a Psych 101 class. It's like, oh shit, is that me? Am I neurotic? Do I have an anal fixation? Do I have an oral fixation? A phallic? Oh God.
Glad I never took a psych class because I have no idea what I'm all about. Anyway, Garrow re-enters and makes some joke about how he only hired one girl and he doesn't want to add another bathroom because, you know, when you see women in your auto mechanic shop, one must automatically believe they're all employees, not customers.
But I will also just say that, like, honestly, if I have two employees who are both in there working, you know, coveralls or whatever, and then there's Mrs. Garrett, Blair Warner, Tootie Ramsey, and Natalie Green just hovering around in my tiny little garage, I'd be like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? None of you own this car. Maybe Mrs. Garrett.
Blair
Who
does.
are you people?
But but the fact that he was like,
yeah,
did I hire you? Is such an odd leap to take. It was just so he could make that bathroom joke, which wasn't funny, but just said bathroom so the kids would love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mrs. Garrett takes the opportunity to sell Garrow on Joe, even though she's already got the job, and it gets so awkward.
Oh my God. This was the worst part. So this was like, it was like 90 seconds of Mrs. Garrett, like, hand fellating a tool. She's like, Joe can fix anything. And then she's like, especially with all these tools. Picks up some random thing, which actually honestly looks like a caulk gun. And then it's like, she can definitely do it with this.
No, she says, what is this one for?
And then
Garrow can go, it's for putting it down.
Yeah. She's like, she can do it with this, while giving it like a rub and tug. And then Garrow's like, yes, this is for putting down.
And then Garrow also decides that he's going to announce he's got good news and bad news in front of all of these guests that are here. He could wait like 2 minutes, but
he could have said, you know, whoever doesn't work for me, can you just leave the premises?
But no, he does not do that. He asks Doug which he wants first, good news or bad news. Natalie shouts bad news because it gives you something to look forward to. I'm of that mindset too. How about you, Britt? Good news or bad news first?
Completely agree. However, I think this is also part of Natalie's bullshit Psych 101 nonsense, being like, you know, if you get the bad news first, you do have something to look forward to. It's like...
Yeah. So the bad news is Rex quit.
Yeah.
Tootie wants to know who that is. How is this your business? Mrs. Garrett wants to know why he quit. Why the fuck would you care?
No,
Where did this come from?
So this was my favorite sequence. So in comes this random man that no one has ever seen before. Okay? That they don't know him. They don't know that he owns this place. Mrs. Garrett comes in and she's just like, hey, so while I'm giving this tool a handy, Also, I just want to tell you that Joe's amazing. Like, she's really handy. What do I do with this? And he's like, just put that shit down. Who the fuck are you? Get out of my face. So Rex quit. Tootie, who's Rex? As though this, and like, and then, you know, he's like, well, he's the weekend service manager. And then Mrs. Garrett goes full Mrs. Garrett. She goes, but why did he quit?
Like she's trying to solve a murder.
I thought that, like, it was like, did he get run over by a car? He didn't quit. Like, something backed over him. Like, it was so dramatic for no reason.
I know, it was as though like she heard that like weekend managers have been dying every month in this mechanic, and like their bodies have been showing up in the Peekskill River, and this Garo character keeps saying they quit. She's gonna get to the bottom of this, but why?
But why? It was so crazy. I was like, Mrs. Garrett is like, she's Mrs. Garrow. Mrs. Garrow.
Mrs. Garrow.
Mrs. Garrett.
She wishes.
Mrs. Garrett is at 0% of Mrs. Garrettness in this episode. She's very like chill and normal. She's like very chill. And then at 100, she's completely unhinged.
About Rex.
About someone she's never met, we're never going to see, about the weekend service manager at a garage. I don't think I've ever been so passionate about another person aside from like my parents, my husband, my friends, you know, my pets. I don't know who my local gas station weekend service repairman is.
And you don't, because he quit.
Yeah. Because he
and
was
we
like,
don't
I
know
gotta get
why.
the fuck out of here.
Anyway, so good news is that Joe got his job, not Doug. Despite Garo's sexist opinions, he pats Joe on the head, and the girls are totally thrilled for her.
Yeah.
Doug, however, is not. And Joe clocks this while the girls do that scene-ending thing where they all make a bunch of chicken noises around one character without actually saying any words. Nobody is better at that than this cast.
Yeah.
But we are out of that scene. But new scene, same location. Azad will get the hang of this one day. Joe and Doug are now alone. He's slamming shit around. Joe tries to give him advice on how to mechanic, and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
He's like, if I'm not doing it right, you do it.
He's walking around and he's literally throwing wrenches and I don't know, hammers into metal boxes.
Whatever's gonna make the most noise.
And it's like he's kind of walking over 10 feet to be like, oh, I need to deposit this right here in your box. I need to deposit this in your box. And she's like, whoa, that's my box. Anyway, and then she's like, okay, well, you know, chill out, man. And he's all pissy. And Joe starts making some extremely small suggestion, which he immediately takes as criticism.
Well, he's like, if I'm not doing it right, you do it. And she's like, I can't do it. I'm busy. I'm the weekend manager.
And then Doug's all like petty. He's like, just tell me what I'm doing wrong. And she says, she screams. She goes to full Mrs. Garrett. She goes, you're not doing anything wrong. And it's like, okay, well, you're not a good manager then if you're screaming at one another.
That's not feminist.
No.
Yes, but yes, she does delicately try to explain what he's doing wrong without saying that he's doing something wrong. He looks like he wants to die, and they do blow up at each other. And finally, he says, "Just tell me what you want me to do. You're the boss." Yeah. She tries to calm him down. They're a team, same as yesterday, but he won't buy it. He works for her now, and he's pissed about it. Yeah. She's not too thrilled either.
Yeah.
That's that scene. That was pretty quick.
Yeah, that was the shortest, sweetest scene I've had in this entire podcast experience. That was like 30 seconds long.
It was super short. So we're back from the break, and we're back in the cafeteria, and the girls are setting up dinner. This is my favorite scene in the episode, by the way. Girls are setting up dinner, and Joe's late because she's been trying to get the grease out from under her fingernails. Blair's quite cordial this time. Totally a 180. She's just, you know, wants to know how it's going with the car. She's being very nice.
Yeah.
Mrs. Garrett also wants to know how her first day of being the weekend service manager went. But here's the thing. Blair had said earlier in the episode that the car needed to be done by Friday. And if Joe is the weekend service manager, the weekend starts on Friday or at the very latest Saturday. And but the car is not done. So what the fuck is going on?
Dominik, time on this show means nothing.
That is true. That is true.
So who knows? Maybe we're going to go back in time to before the crash. This whole episode doesn't
It wasn't
exist.
a crash. It wasn't a crash.
Oh, whatever.
Blair, for some reason, wishes it was a crash. That would have been better than this breaking down. But so anyway, Blair presses Joe for car info, and Joe blows up on Blair. But Blair's like, okay, fine. You're the boss.
Yeah.
Which is apparently now triggering for Joe.
It is.
Really pissed off.
She goes, you're the boss. That's a terrible thing. It's a lousy thing to say. And then Mrs. Garrett goes, Joe, what is it? You seem a little furious. It was again, the choices were weird in this episode. Like, weirder than usual.
Yeah, but I didn't mind it. It was off kilter in a way that I was okay with.
Well, I wasn't okay with it, but it was fine. But in that it, I will say though that this episode did seem a little long for not much going on. But again, it did.
They're all the same length.
I know, but time is flexible.
Time means nothing in Eastland.
But again, so after Joe is like, and Mrs. Garrett's like, you seem furious. Then Joe leaves, and then fucking Natalie pipes up. She goes, it's a classic case of latent psychosis with neurotic overtones. Huge laugh. Okay, so let me explain what that is. Psychosis is a severe mental disorder, including hallucinations, delusions, and mental impairment that grossly interferes with day-to-day functioning. So Natalie basically diagnosed her friend as a schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic.
No.
This
is why Natalie is the worst in this episode. This manual, the DSM, should be taken from her. She should not have access to this information, because when she looks at people and sees what they're doing, she's like, she's a shoplifter or whatever. It's like, you can't know. Like, you probably have father issues. And it's like, don't get away from you. Do you have a PhD? Are you an MD? No, I'm just a 14-year-old with a book. That's why she's the worst.
So Tootie gets the thankless job of setting up Natalie's next joke.
Yeah.
Which, after she says latent psychosis with neurotic overtones, Tootie goes, what does that mean? But with the longest ellipses before she can say it. It's like she was expecting Natalie's joke to get a bigger laugh than it even did.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just going to wait until we get every last laugh out of the... Okay. What does that mean? And then Natalie's like, about $100 an hour.
Yeah.
Audience loses it. Britt loses it also. Anyway, so Joe explains what happened with Doug being a prick for about 5 minutes until Natalie interrupts to say, aha, something's bothering him.
Which is so annoying. Like, she
was right that time, though. At least she was right that time.
Yeah, because it's unbelievably broad and stupid. Something's bothering him? Yeah, no shit. I'm sure it's like if she was like, you know what? He probably has to pee right now. 80% chance he probably has to pee right now.
That was very no shit. But then the next thing comes, and it's Tootie says he's probably disappointed he didn't get the job since he's been working there a lot longer than she has. Okay. Yes to Natalie, and yes to Joe. She explains that she wanted Doug to get the job, but if it can't be him, he should be happy for her. But no. She explains that they talked about this, thought about it. He's got some dumb idea that she's his boss. And then Blair chimes in, well, you are. And then everybody looks at her and she's like, well, she is. And yes, she is. So that is now 3 lines delivered to Joe that Captain Obvious wouldn't even deliver.
Yeah. So then what's the problem here? Like, what is the lesson here that Joe is refusing to accept?
The lesson that Joe is refusing to accept.
So if she
that
has been
Doug
told,
is not the right man for her because
Okay.
he seems to take a problem with
Okay.
her having success.
Okay.
So
But again, the other thing is that you know, my other point might be also just for Joe, you know, and for her sake is to, you know, not shit where you eat. So don't fuck your coworker, especially your underling.
However, she was fucking him before she even worked there, as far as I could tell, and definitely fucking him before she got the job, promotion. But Nat explains that because he's a man, dudes are all about women's lib when they read about it in Newsweek, but not in real life. Even though Joe protests that she thought that he was liberated.
Is that the same thing with dudes? He's a real liberated guy.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't use that right, but maybe it was used differently back then. I had a whole train of thought about this.
I feel like it should have been enlightened. He's really
enlightened
or open-minded.
I don't think we had those words back in 1982.
We did. We've had those words for a long time. Anyway, so then Mrs. Garrett sits down.
Best part of the episode.
Which is an insane clusterfuck.
Huge bombshell. Huge.
So this should have been a whole part. This should have been its own episode.
It was great. I loved it. It could have gone on forever.
This should have been its own episode.
So Mrs. Garrett
says... what happened to Howard?
He disappeared. So Mrs. Garrett says that all guys aren't like that because when Howard was working here, remember him? They were fucking, and he was totally okay with it. In fact, he liked the fact that Mrs. G was his boss. He liked the fact that she was more powerful. And that extended to their bedroom, she says. In fact, Howard liked it when she'd pee on him. And then she stops herself, and the rest of the girls just stare at her with horror in their eyes.
Yeah.
The girls legit freak out. And I get it. This was a shock even to me, and I've seen this episode.
Tootie was like, what? What? You did what? And then Natalie swarms around Mrs. Garrett, who's having this like very personal tete-a-tete, trying to like try to talk to Joe to like be like, it's okay to like, you know, exert your power as a woman, as a manager. It's totally fine if you're like, you know, on the up and up and you're being, you know, cool about it. And then Natalie swarms around and she puts her like hand inside of her little sweater, her little like sherbet colored sweater. And she goes, our Howard with the great veal cutlets. This whole situation devolved into like weird sexual innuendo where it was like Howard with the great veal cutlets. And then it was
I really laughed when Blair was like, here? In our own kitchen?
Exactly. Like,
you know that's where the fucking was happening.
Yeah, you're doing it on the surfaces that we eat off of. And then Tootie's like, whoa. How long have you guys been cooking together? How long was this going on? And it's like, these little girls do not need to get this information about their house mother.
Why not?
Gross.
I like it. Anyway, Mrs. Garrett tells them to all forget about Howard, but Tootie's like, how can you forget about him when he worshipped you so?
Yeah.
The whole bit was good. Mrs. Garrett tells Joe to treat Doug with respect, and hopefully he'll come around. Tootie wants to know how long her and Howard were cooking, but Mrs. Garrett hears her pot roast calling, so she wiggles and wobbles and jiggles herself to the kitchen, moist with the memories of Howard and his amazing veal cutlets.
Do you like a pot roast, by the way?
I love pot roast.
Are you a beef pot roast or a pork pot roast type guy?
I think I've only done beef, but I love pork, so I'm sure I would like a pork one. Blair tells Joe that there are 2 basic truths in life. 1, no man is an island. 2,
John Donne.
Always let the boy win. Perfect. Blair gives Joe some advice on how to keep a man. You make him feel like he's the boss. And Nat chimes in agreement. They're talking about the male ego here. It is delicate and fragile. What does Natalie know about the fragility of men's egos? Is this like fuck Steve territory? Like, is that where she learned this?
No, it's from the DSM. It's from the book that she's been reading, while jerking off and looking at medical illustrations. I don't know.
That's cute.
All the things that Natalie feels as though she has to chime in on, which she doesn't know anything about because she's 14 fucking years old.
Well, Blair says that Joe is not wearing her power right. She's throwing it on like a motorcycle jacket when she's got to slip into it the way Doug slips into one of his extra small condoms.
So let me just say one thing here. She says, and I'll be honest, I did appreciate this moment of Blair explaining how female power can work over heterosexual men and their egos, right? I do think that some men do like it when you put on your leather jacket and you go right at them and you're like, listen, bub, you do what I say. And then others, and I'm saying this is there's a huge spectrum of how you communicate with your partner or whomever. Sometimes it does require a little bit more of like a negligee type situation, where it's like, I will seduce you into doing what I want. And I think that what she's getting at is accurate for heteronormative relationships, where it's like you can't kind of take a hammer to every situation. You might want to use kid gloves sometimes, and you might want to use a different type of reinforcement, rather than being like, I can't believe that this is the way that you always do the laundry. It's more like, thank you so much for doing the laundry today.
I liked Joe's response to Blair's negligee comment, which was not doing anything weird.
No. So that's weird for her because I'll be honest, I'm more of a motorcycle jacket gal than a negligee gal. I have been known to wear a negligee, but more of a motorcycle jacket type girl.
How many negligees do you own?
I don't know, 2, 3.
Are they sexy?
How many leather jackets do I own? 15.
Really?
Yeah.
I own neither of either. But I did find a shirt that says Cali Life, and I put it on because I needed a clean shirt. And I was like, where the hell did this come from? I would never buy a shirt that says Cali Life. And it is so tight on me that it's got like a Pooh Bear situation where like my whole belly hangs out. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't wear it out. But like,
do you like it?
No, but I don't fuck around with guys that are smaller than me. So where did this shirt come from?
Where do you do your laundry?
In my apartment building.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Cali Life. Anyway, so Blair explains this is just a game. It's good to pretend to be helpless. It'll make him feel strong and protective. And they're being so clear with this message that I worry. Like, because it's the wrong path.
Yeah.
But they're a lot more vague about the lessons learned from taking the wrong path. But they're really crystal clear when they're sending Joe on this path.
Exactly.
Yes.
So at this point, Joe should have, if this were just the feminist episode that I wanted from this, which I never get, obviously, is that is that during this scene where Joe, Natalie, and Blair are talking about how to deal with dudes and the fragile male ego and how best to, massage it to make sure that you get what you want and that they don't feel intimidated or emasculated and everyone feels cool and copacetic and whatever. I like the idea of Joe feeling confused because she's sort of, a little like, dick whipped because she kind of likes Doug, like in a sexual way. but also she's proud of the fact that she's good at this job. You know, she can basically, she knows to check the carburetor or whatever. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. But you tell me what to do, man. And so
Side note, it has been so long since I've been dick whipped, and I just miss it so much.
Okay.
Go on.
Anyway, so I think that this could have been a very pivotal scene where Joe is sort of trying to like figure out the strategy to use, right? And because she's confused, and then Blair comes in with kind of like the blatantly wrong one for Joe, right? It might work for Blair, right? For her to be like, I fell over, help, I don't know. And so,
oops, my skirt's over my head.
Yeah, oopsie. My panties aren't there anymore. Can you find them? Oops.
Well, this was in concert with her falling over.
Yeah. Anyway, so I do think that there is a subtle message of like, if you do act like a little damsel in distress or like you don't know what you're doing, then it'll make him feel strong and protective, and that he's more of a man than you are. Which, again, is an insight because he's worried that she's more of a man than he is, right?
Well, he's obviously not much of a man if he's getting this insecure about his girlfriend getting a promotion over him.
But I think that's also part of the problem that this fucking garage, the environment that Garrow, has created, which is, I can't believe this woman is so good, and this woman is so amazing and you're so bad, so she's going to be your boss. And it's like, of course now he's going to be upset about that, right? But I think that the strength of the next scene could have been Joe trying out a couple different, ways of dealing with Doug, rather than just going full hog on Blair's advice, being like, I don't know how to do anything. I shouldn't.
She doesn't do that until later. She starts off trying to give him advice, and we will get to that scene in a second. But to be fair to Joe, she does start off trying to keep the status quo, where she tells him when he's doing something wrong, and then it goes haywire. So Natalie says that a woman of the 80s should be able to have it all, but Joe doesn't know how, and neither does Natalie. But Joe's a woman of the 80s, so she'll figure it out. I have noticed this acting trick that Mindy Cohn does, where when she says a line that her character is not supposed to actually believe, then she looks away from the person and makes a face like, sheesh, glad I came up with that on the fly.
Yeah.
And she's done that so much. And
she does do that.
It's starting to get on my nerves. But yes, now we are back in the motorcycle shop, as you said, and Joe and Doug are working silently. Joe decides to poke the bear, ask him what he's doing. He's working on the carburetor like an idiot when he should be working on the timing coils. Yeah. Anyway, he doesn't like that she tries to explain why this is the wrong choice for him, but it's just like, let him fuck up the bike, let him get fired, then you don't have to deal with being his boss anymore, and you can have all the noisy pizza you want.
Is that your management style?
That's how I would do it, yes. If I don't like the awkwardness between me and my partner at the place, and I see that he's fucking up and I have to save his ass all the time, I'd probably finally be like, I'm just going to let him fuck up and we'll see what happens. And if he gets fired, he gets fired. It's not my job to like yell at him constantly and make him not want to suck my dick anymore. No, literally, I'm not going to do that.
Literally your job. That's literally your job as a manager. To help them get better and to tell them what to do if they're.
Well, it's his job as an employee to listen to that, and if he doesn't do it, then I'm just gonna let him fuck up on his own and have Garrow fire him because I can't fire him.
I hear you.
I'm not gonna, if I'm like having sex with this dude, I'm not gonna tell Garrow that he's fucking up. I'm just gonna like hope that he sees it. Let it happen. Anyway, he's a dick.
But if he gets fired because he keeps fucking up, he's not gonna want to have sex with you anymore.
Why? You didn't have anything to do with that. You're not his boss anymore.
Come on. Use your head.
Just because he's so despondent about losing his job at Garrow's garage that he
because his hot, smart girlfriend who was better at the job was sort of like, yeah, he's shitty. Like, I don't know.
Didn't say that. She didn't say that.
No, she didn't say it, but she tried to help him and he refused to take it.
Well, he's a dick, and she backs down, and that's
Yeah.
when Mrs. Garrett and Blair come in to find out that the car is fixed. And that's
Yeah.
where we learn that the license plate reads 855 Femme, which is very subtle. Blair thanks Joe. She'll be able to keep her credit cards now. Joe saved the economy.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Garrett
and she
sees
says, and Blair says she's thankful, and she says, I have to find a way to repay you. And Joe says, do me a favor, don't. And I was like, isn't this a business?
Yeah, it's like, just pay her.
Pay the money for the work.
You don't have to repay her. Just pay your bill.
Just here's an invoice.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Garrett sees that Doug is still being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Blair tells Joe she knows what to do, and sadly, Joe does it.
Yeah.
She removes a plug from the valve and then acts like a dumb broad who doesn't know how to fix something that simple, even though she literally just took apart and reassembled a Porsche before his eyes. But whatever, boys are dumb. He probably won't figure it out, and he doesn't. Hashtag 855Femme. He tightens the valve and says you just need a little extra muscle. And then Joe giggles and giggles away, and Blair looks delighted. It worked. Mrs. Garrett looks horrified, though.
Yeah.
And asks what she's doing, and Blair explains she's doing just fine.
And then Natoots blow in.
For what reason?
No reason. And is this when the moment where Tootie says, "Ugh, you're acting like Blair"?
Not just yet.
Oh,
that's coming. But
okay.
First, when they enter, that's where Mrs. Garrett weirdly hops on the motorcycle like a doofus.
For no reason.
Again, no reason.
She was just there like 2 days ago, and that guy was like, "Don't touch anything."
Yeah.
And she's just like, "Vroom vroom! I'm gonna get on this motorcycle. Vroom vroom."
So weird.
For no reason, and then she has to hop off awkwardly when he comes in, and he's like, "What are you doing here? Get out of here!"
So Joe wants to know why Natoots are there. So do I. Apparently, they were riding bikes, and Natalie forced Tootie to go in because she's looking for a present for her mother. Which mother?
I don't know.
But
this is confusing to me. Everything, it's like there's no reason for any of them to be there.
Yeah, I mean, Blair's picking up her car. Mrs. Garrett might have had to drive her to the garage. That's the argument I have for those two. I do not know why Natoots are there. It's never explained.
No, of course
not. But
not.
They're like acting
Nothing
like there's
is
some kind of
explained.
secret. Like, oh, I just got to get the thing for my mother. Like, why are you coming up with a lie? For what reason? What's happening? What is this?
Oh, we just heard that, Joe was having a birthday. I don't know. It's like there's no reason. Anyway, so then Joe acts like an extra crazy person, being like, "Oh, Doug, please help. We could, blah, blah, blah."
Well, no, hang on. Garo has to come in and bring the Honda for Joe to look at.
Oh, yeah.
And then he says hello to the friends. Hello, friends. Garo seems less confused about their arrival than I am. And then
he's like, "Oh yeah, of course. You have an entourage. All these women just come with you. This is what happens when you have women. They breed.
When you hire a lesbian, there's going to be a gaggle of women around them."
Mm-hmm.
So Joe tries to pawn off the Honda on Doug, even though Garo points out that Hondas are actually Joe's specialty. She lies and says it's because she spent so much time watching Doug fix them, while watching him erroneously check carburetors. Who knows what she's watching him do, but she wants him to work on the Honda. Are Hondas, like, better than Yamahas in the motorcycle world to the point where, like, one is really hard to fix and one's easy to fix?
Who are you talking to?
Well, I tried to find that out, and I couldn't. Anyway, so Garo stays firm. Joe should do it. But Doug... He's intrigued. He's like, "You really think I could handle this?"
She's like, "Yeah, you can handle a Honda."
No one who can really handle something has to ask, "Do you really think I can handle this?" But Joe lies. She's like, "Sure, why not?" He's like, "Yeah, but Garo said."
I will say, though, going back to, "Do you think I can handle this?" If someone said that to you in a sexual moment of passion.
Oh, I've gotten that many times.
Yeah, of course. "Do you think I can handle this?" Isn't that incredibly erotic?
Erotic or neurotic?
Erotic.
Yeah.
"Do you think I can handle this?"
But it's also a little neurotic.
No, this is what Blair is talking about when putting your power on like a negligee. Do you think I can handle this?
But he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's wearing the negligee.
Exactly. So that's why Blair's topping him.
A motorcycle cuck. Anyway, so he's like, but Garrow said, and she's like, fuck Garrow. She'll handle the silly Yamaha. You do the fancy Honda. There's no difference. The girls look on in horror. Even Blair thinks Joe has gone too far with this bitch. She's acting like a real moron. To the point of her saying, what do I know about motorcycles? If I get him to ride, it's just dumb luck. And Doug is just smiling and nodding along. Fuck you, Doug. You know that she knows more than you do about this. But you're willing to go along with this because so you can make your dick feel a little bigger.
Yeah.
You're the worst.
Yeah, he was the worst. He was bad.
But I wait to say he's the worst when he does the worst thing. You're mad at him the whole episode. But we have to.
No, I was fine. I was fine about him at the beginning.
Not in the podcast. Maybe in the beginning of watching it. But now your podcast covering.
Oh, sorry.
Colored
I didn't know that I needed to wait to hold on to my emotions about this very boring episode.
You don't. There's no rules for you. But for me, I like to go along with the viewer's perception.
Okay.
Anyway, so Nat calls her over, and Tootie's like, you're acting like Blair. And then Blair goes, it's disgusting.
I was shocked.
It was good.
It's disgusting. I was like, what is happening? It was so odd. The writing was like vicious.
Yeah. And truth be told, this plan is actually working flawlessly. Like, Doug is eating out of her hand.
Yeah.
So it's very depressing. Also kind of fairly accurate representation of some men.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't love that the message that's being sent is, yeah, this will work, but at what cost?
Exactly.
Like, it should have been like, the guy should have been like, Joe, what are you doing? Have some respect for yourself. You know that I can't fix this the way you could.
Exactly.
That
would have been a feminist episode. Or him being like,
I still think it was a feminist episode. Despite, like, I think that having this man be a total idiotic sexist prick, if anything, makes it even more feminist. Because if the guy was like, I'm a good guy, I see what's going on, I feel like that's just that's less imparting a lesson on the viewers.
No. So the lesson would be that Joe, I sometimes think that when we talk about these episodes is that, like, when there's this very dramatic exit at the end, when Joe's just like, I learned a lesson. Never will this happen again. I learned the lesson to not let this, dick whip. I won't be dick whipped by any man, and I will, I will be a good manager, and I will stand up for myself, and I won't act like a dum-dum. I want to see that in action, because this show seems to have amnesia, because every episode that we start, the next episode, will we know what happened with Doug? Will Joe still work with Garrow? Will any of this have stuck? I literally just want to see this bad moment with her and Doug, and then have her dick whip him, clit whip him, and be like, listen, you can't work here. I don't want to see you unless you respect my authority. And then have him be like, ooh, now you got me hard, because you actually know everything about mechanics, and I want you to teach me everything, and I've never been so turned on. I want you to be my girlfriend. I want you to be my wife. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Joe just be like, well, this was disappointing, because the next episode is going to be something completely different. It's going to be, Mrs. Garrett, making brownies that burn, and then the whole school burns down. Like, it's going to be something, everything is evanescent in this universe.
We don't have a major fire for a couple of years. We do have a major fire, though.
Okay. But you see my point.
I see your point, but to me, I'm looking at the series as like a whole thing.
Yes.
And I will say that I do believe that these lessons are learned, and this is just like, they're kind of learned in real time. Like it takes a while for them to actually apply. But I do not think that Joe lets another man ever walk all over her in series.
Then great. But you can understand how you're looking at this, having seen every single episode of
yes,
this, 50 times, for 40 years. And I saw this today, and I'm like, I could have fixed this in 5 minutes had I seen this script.
But then you don't have a 25-minute episode.
True.
Anyway, so Blair explains that Joe is acting like she doesn't know anything about bikes, is like Blair saying she doesn't know how to get semen out of her hair while still retaining that signature proof. Joe knew she'd hate being the dippy moron, but Mrs. Garrett explains that if Doug really likes her, he'll like her for herself.
Yes.
And Garrow comes out and sees Doug working on the Honda. We also see a reaction shot from Garrow, like earlier in the scene, where he's at his desk in the same room looking at them. So it seems pretty weird that he's suddenly noticing this, but whatever. He seems pretty good-natured about it. He cracks a joke that Doug doesn't even look like Joe. But then Garrow's also pissed. She took Doug off the Yamaha, which has a customer waiting, while she talks with her hollow friends. Did I hear that right? I don't know. Subtitles, and they actually ignored it. They were like, I don't know what he was saying. I think he was either calling them hollow friends or he was calling them the hello friends, because he does say hello friends at one point in the episode, but it's not like it became like his catchphrase. Either way, the subtitles were like, fuck it, I have no idea, and just left that line blank. Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett says they're leaving, but then says they'll wait outside, which I thought was weird because she's in the middle of her work day. They have not discussed having lunch together. And unless it's about picking up the Porsche, in which case they're well-paying customers, they should be treated with respect and they could stay there.
Fair enough.
I was very confused why they were we're going to wait in the parking lot on the off chance that Doug invites you to lunch and then you reject him and say, I'm going to go with my real friends.
Cool. But cool that this is the granular analysis that you're making about the way that this business is being run.
I mean, I just thought it was weird that the girls were like, we're going to go outside and wait for no reason. Yeah. Like, maybe you want to have lunch with us. Maybe you don't. It's never been discussed. Yeah. We're just going to go out and wait. Yeah. That's fine. So he's not firing Joe Garrow, he says. But he is taking her promotion away, which is probably for the best if she ever hopes to get Doug hard again. Also, Doug hears this conversation. He's in the room. He could have chimed in at any point to help her or whatever. But he's just sitting there hiding behind his Honda crying because his pride has been wounded so badly.
I know.
And then when Garrow leaves, Doug is back to calling her babe. Wants to split a pizza
he's like,
with babe.
He's like, you're a good manager, but you're a good mechanic, but no manager. And then he leaves, and like Joe's sort of like, well, at least I still have the job, right? And then Doug comes.
Not that we'll ever see it again.
Yeah, Doug comes creeping over, saying, it's real tough break, babe. I hate a babe couple. Hey, babe, what's up, babe? Babe, can you hand me the dishwasher liquid, babe? Did you fold the laundry, babe? And it's like, just talk to.
When I had a female cat, I called her babe all the time, and now I call my male cat bro all the time.
But this is coming from someone whose parents called me babe all the time.
Like the pig?
Like the pig. But
that's so mean. No,
it's because I'll tell you.
You were living in the city?
I was living in the city, and I am a little piglet. No, it's because I'm an only child, and my parents are hippies, and so they took a very relaxed, I guess, approach towards parenting. So it would always be like, hey, where's the baby? Do you know where the baby is? Oh, there's the baby. And so they call me the baby or the babe. And so
you remind me of the babe.
The pig?
No, you're supposed to go, what babe?
What babe?
The babe with the power. Do you not know this?
No.
Have you never seen Labyrinth?
Oh, God, no. Peter's trying to get me to watch it.
With David Bowie, you've never seen Labyrinth?
No.
Why not?
Ugh.
Do you
Isn't
not
it
like
with
David Bowie?
Muppets? I love David Bowie, but doesn't it have Muppets in it?
Like a couple.
No, isn't the whole thing with Muppets?
There's like a mixture of humans and a couple of Muppets that are like their characters, and they go through the labyrinth. But like it's mostly Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie.
But it's also a musical.
But an 80s David Bowie musical where David Bowie wrote all the songs.
Okay, so it's cocaine, is what you're saying.
I mean, is Let's Dance cocaine? Is Blue Jean Let's cocaine?
Yes.
Then it's cocaine.
Okay,
Kids
anyway.
and cocaine. It's really good. It's a really good movie. And
okay, well,
now
put
I
it on the list.
understand why
Anyway,
you didn't know what I was
Peter's
doing.
been trying, ever since quarantine, Peter's been trying to get me to watch Labyrinth. So now, okay. So, but I totally get, as I said, I have been called babe and baby my entire life by my parents, but I am very anti-babe from a partner. Because it's like, or a person who you know, it's where it's like, oh, hey babe, what's up? It's just, it feels sort of like, just know my name. Know my name.
I wouldn't mind a partner calling me babe, but again, I'm single and I've been in quarantine for 8 months, so I wouldn't mind anybody calling me babe. Anyway, so Doug wants to split a pizza with Babe now that she's not the boss. He he admits he got a little crazy, but then he goes, it's not like I killed somebody. What?
I know.
Where did that come from? Why would he say that? Now I think he did kill somebody.
I know. I literally wrote down, I got pissy because I perceived you as a threat to my masculinity, but at least I didn't kill anyone. I'm not such a bad guy. I guess I just need things to be a certain way. Literally, like, threat, like, red alert, run away, Joe. This is an abusive man.
But look, she figured it out. She got it. She got it right in that moment. And she's like, fuck off. I'm going to go have lunch with my real friends instead. You suck. And it's not the carburetor, you moron. It's the timing coils. Mic drop, freeze frame, and we're done.
Yeah.
Mic Dreep. Freeze frame.
Yeah. Kitchen Cacciatore.
Yep.
We're all on the same page now. No, and honest to God, like, as soon as he said that, I flashed to Sleeping with the Enemy. Like
that you've seen.
I just need things to be in a certain way. I need things to be a certain way. I don't want you to be able to swim. It's like, I don't want you to be able to fix things better than I can, even though it's your natural talent. I want you to appear to be worse than I am at everything.
That is the dream. That is what I want in a partner, is somebody who's worse at everything than I am. Honestly, like, I love that. I'm always into that. That is a treat for me. Yeah, so that is our episode.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
As I've said many times, is that after, going to France, every one of these does feel like, a drop in the bucket. Like they take 2 minutes of my life, whereas going to France took 2 years off my life, I felt. And so, but I will honestly say that, the abortion, like, I thought that the abortion one with Natalie was really bad. I thought that was actually, like, damaging and stupid. I actually also thought that the one with where Natalie tries to find her bio mom was also damaging and stupid. This one was muddled and messy, but not, it was incompetent, but it wasn't like, the message was halfway there.
The message was halfway there. But I feel like if you squinted, you could kind of make out a message.
Yeah, and Garrow was my favorite part.
Well, Pierrini, Mascarini.
Because the best
Pierrino, Mascarino. My apologies.
Is when he comes in and all of these random women are in there, and he goes, "Why am I talking to you right now?" Yeah. Same.
Well,
There
so
you
we've got
go.
an exciting episode next.
Oh no. Oh God, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Blair?
It is Blair. The episode is called Daddy's Girl.
No, no.
And Blair discovers she's the unsuspecting victim when a tax audit reveals that her father has done some questionable accounting.
Oh. So they're not as rich as she thinks, or is Daddy going to jail?
I think Blair's going to jail. Well, we'll find out next week when we do it. But once again, Britt, great pod. I had a blast. I hope you did too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we learned something about the human psyche from
No.
Natalie.
Nope, not at all.
We learned something about how to be a man from Doug.
Nope.
And we learned how to fix a timing coil and what an airbox is.
We didn't learn any of those things. Those were things that were mentioned, shown to us, but never explained.
Do you want me to Google what an airbox is real quick?
No, I don't. I would prefer to be ignorant of that.
Okay. Well, guys, if you don't know what an airbox is, oh, no, it is a thing.
Also, everyone in the comments, please, I was going to say, please don't dunk on me for never having seen Labyrinth, but you know what? Fuck it. Dunk on me all you want.
An airbox is an empty chamber on the inlet of most combustion engines. It collects air from the outside and feeds it to the intake hose of each cylinder, obviously. The airbox allows use of one air filter instead of multiple, reducing complexity. Now you know. Airbox. Hashtag airbox. Get it trending, yo.
Airbox.
Yeah. We will see you next week for another wonderful Facts of Facts. And if my timing is right, Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.